The Tale of Sinuhe by Egyptian Classical Tales. Brought to you by TellStory.net, stories from around the world. In the days when Amenemhat the Great ruled Egypt, there lived a nobleman named Sinuhe who served in the royal household. He held a trusted position among the attendants to the king's family and was well regarded at court. One fateful day, while Sinuhe was traveling with Prince Sinuhe on a military campaign against the Libyans, devastating news arrived. A messenger, his face pale with grief, approached the royal tent. The messenger said, falling to his knees before Prince Sinuhe,
"My lord, King Amenemhat has journeyed to the horizon. He has joined the gods in the afterlife."
The prince's face grew solemn as he absorbed the news. He commanded his officers,
"Prepare to return to Memphis immediately. I must claim my rightful place on the throne."
But Sinuhe, overhearing this conversation from behind the tent, felt a cold fear grip his heart. In the confusion of succession, a court attendant could easily find himself on the wrong side of the new order. As night fell and the camp settled into uneasy quiet, Sinuhe made a decision that would change his life forever. Gathering his few possessions, he slipped away from the camp like a shadow in the desert night. Sinuhe fled eastward, away from the Nile Valley that had been his home since birth. His sandaled feet carried him across rocky terrain and through sandy wastes, guided only by the stars. Behind him lay everything he had ever known, ahead lay the vast unknown of foreign lands. For days he traveled, surviving on dates and whatever water he could find. The desert sun beat down mercilessly during the day, while cold winds chilled him at night. When Sinuhe thought he could go no further, he collapsed near a small oasis and lay there parched and exhausted. At last, he spotted the dark shapes of tents on the horizon. A group of Asiatic nomads had made camp there. Their leader, a weather-beaten man named Amenemhat, chief of upper retinue, studied the Egyptian stranger with curious eyes. Amenemhat asked, gesturing for his men to lower their spears,
"Who are you, Egyptian? What brings you alone to our lands?"
Sinuhe fell to his knees, exhausted, and reached out for mercy from the nomads. He reminded them of the service he had given Pharaoh Amenemhat and begged for shelter.
"I am Sinuhe, once of the court of Pharaoh Amenemhat. I seek refuge among your people."
The nomad chief stroked his beard thoughtfully. He had heard of the great pharaoh's death and understood that such times brought upheaval to palace life. With surprising gentleness, he offered words of welcome.
"Rise, Sinuhe. Any man who has served the pharaoh deserves respect. You may shelter with us."
In the camp of Amenemhat, Sinuhe found an unexpected new life. The chief's kindness extended beyond mere hospitality. He recognized the Egyptian's intelligence and experience, making him an advisor in tribal matters. One evening as they sat around the fire, Amenemhat asked for news of Egypt.
"Tell me, Sinuhe, what news do you bring of Egypt? How fares the great kingdom by the Nile?"
Sinuhe spoke of Egypt's glory, its magnificent temples, fertile fields, and powerful armies. His descriptions filled the nomads with wonder, for they knew Egypt only as a distant land of legends.
The Nile rises each year like clockwork, covering the fields with life-giving water. The pharaoh's granaries are always full, his people well-fed. The gods smile upon the two lands.
As months passed, Sinuhe proved his worth repeatedly. When disputes arose between tribes, his diplomatic skills helped negotiate peaceful solutions. When raiders threatened the camp, his knowledge of military tactics helped plan successful defenses. Amenemhat's appreciation grew into deep friendship. One day, the chief made an extraordinary offer.
"Sinuhe, my friend, you have brought wisdom and strength to our people. I wish to offer you my eldest daughter in marriage, and I will make you ruler of the finest portion of my land, a region rich in figs and grapes, with more cattle than I can count."
Sinuhe accepted this generous offer, and for years he prospered in his new homeland. He became wealthy and powerful, respected by all the tribes of the region. His new family grew as he raised children with his wife, and he seemed to have found peace in exile. But his greatest test came when a powerful champion from a rival tribe issued a challenge to single combat. The man was celebrated throughout the land for his great size and strength, and he made no secret of his contempt for the Egyptian-born leader in his midst. The tribes gathered to witness the duel. Sinuhe stood in the center of the ring, his resolve firm. He carried a shield, axe, and bundle of javelins, weapons far different from anything he had known at court. The champion came forward with force and confidence. But Sinuhe was quick and measured. He dodged the first charge and launched a javelin with steady aim. It struck true, and the champion fell heavily to the ground. A great cheer arose from Eminence's people, while their enemies withdrew. Sinuhe had proven himself not just as a counselor, but as a warrior. Years passed, and Sinuhe grew old in his adopted land. His hair turned white, his beard grew long, and his children had children of their own. Yet always in his heart burned a flame of longing for Egypt. One day, a merchant caravan arrived with news that made Sinuhe's heart leap. King Sinuhe, now firmly established on the throne, had sent messengers seeking information about his father's former attendant.
The Pharaoh remembers you with favor. He speaks of your loyalty to his father and wishes to know if you yet live.
That night, Sinuhe could not sleep. He walked out into the open air and thought long on the years that had passed, on the Egypt he had left behind, on the gods he had served in his heart even in a foreign land. Inspired by this longing, Sinuhe composed a letter to Pharaoh Sinuhe.
Life, prosperity, health to you, my sovereign lord. I am your servant Sinuhe, who fled in fear, but has never forgotten his love for Egypt. Like a bird driven from its nest, I have wandered in foreign lands, but always I have longed to return. If it pleases my lord, let your servant come home to die in the land that gave him birth.
When Pharaoh Sinuhe received Sinuhe's letter, he was moved to compassion. The king remembered the faithful servant who had attended his sister, and he understood that Sinuhe's flight had been born of fear, not treachery.
Return in peace to Egypt, Sinuhe. You shall not die in a foreign land. Your place awaits you in the court, and you shall be honored among the nobles. Come home, that you may see the palace again and kiss the sacred ground.
When Sinuhe received this royal pardon, tears of joy streamed down his withered cheeks. He embraced Eminence and his family, thanking them for their years of kindness. He told the old chief how fatherly the tribe had been and that the land had been his shelter in the storm.
You have been a father to me, and this land has been my shelter in the storm. But Egypt calls, and I must answer.
Eminence nodded with understanding.
Go with our blessing, old friend. Take gifts worthy of the Pharaoh, and remember us when you walk in the palace of your youth.
Loaded with precious gifts, gold, silver, ivory, and fine linens, Sinuhe began his journey back to Egypt. But this time he traveled not as a frightened fugitive, but as an honored guest returning to his homeland. At the border fortress, Egyptian guards greeted him with respect. Word had already spread of his coming, and his name was spoken with reverence. The soldiers provided him with an escort worthy of a nobleman. As they traveled north along the beloved Nile, Sinuhe's heart sang with joy. He saw the familiar sights of his youth, the green fields, the white-sailed boats, the mud-brick villages, and the great temples reaching toward the sky.
How beautiful you are, O Egypt! How I have missed your sacred waters and fertile soil.
When Sinuhe arrived at the palace, he was overwhelmed by the magnificence that greeted him. The court had grown even more splendid during his absence, with walls adorned in gold and precious stones that reflected the light of countless oil lamps. Pharaoh Sinuhe, now a mature man with the bearing of a true king, received Sinuhe in the great throne room. The returning exile prostrated himself before the golden throne, scarcely able to believe he was truly home.
Rise, Sinuhe. You have traveled far and endured much. Welcome home to Egypt.
When Sinuhe lifted his eyes to the throne, he saw the powerful pharaoh who had once been the young prince he served. Among the royal family who came to greet him was Neferu, the royal consort, who regarded him with quiet recognition.
My Majesty, I am overwhelmed by your mercy. I fled without cause, yet you welcome me with honor.
The pharaoh's generosity knew no bounds. He granted Sinuhe a beautiful house with its own garden, servants to attend his needs, and a place of honor in the court. But the greatest gift was yet to come.
You have lived long in foreign lands, and the desert has marked you with its harshness. But you are home now, and Egypt shall restore your youth.
The royal barbers trimmed Sinuhe's wild hair and beard, while the palace tailors clothed him in fine white linen. His calloused hands were softened with oils, and his sun-darkened skin was treated with soothing balms. When they were finished, Sinuhe looked in a bronze mirror and barely recognized himself.
Behold, the wild man of the desert has become once again a nobleman of Egypt.
Sinuhe spent his remaining years in contentment, surrounded by the quiet comforts of Egypt. He became a trusted presence in the court, and the scribes set down the account of his wanderings so that it would not be forgotten. He thought at times of Amenenche and his family, grateful for the shelter they had given him in lean years. A tomb was prepared for Sinuhe in the royal cemetery, decorated with all the care befitting a nobleman. When his time came, he was laid to rest in that tomb with the proper rites, ready for eternal life in the field of reeds. Thus ended the tale of Sinuhe, the man who fled Egypt in fear and returned in honor, his story becoming a lasting treasure of Egyptian letters.